For all those who remember these guys. Super cool band, very big in the Myspace Deathcore underground scene. They're still around today, killing it, but I guess the question is, how did they get there? That's what we're gonna find out today. So my friend, as usual, take a cup of coffee, or tea, cigarette, chicken wrap, whatever you feel like, as we explore the Rose Funeral Myspace Era. Real quick, before starting the video, if you didn't join our Discord, please feel free to do so. I'm also live on Twitch every Wednesdays and Fridays. And with all that being said, let's start the video. So the band was founded in 2005 in Cincinnati, Ohio. And before getting into their story, I have to mention, there was not a lot of information about the band. As much as I'm stoked to talk about Rose Funeral and bands like that, it's a bit trickier sometimes to find the right information. So if you're watching my video and in certain parts or certain things I'm saying makes no sense to you or I'm completely wrong, you can just correct me in the comments. I mean, I really did my best with what I've got, you know? Alright, let's do this. So, the original lineup. I'm not sure exactly who it was because they had like 50,000 different members over the year, but what I can tell you is that I'm pretty sure Ryan was there. He's doing most of the songwriting, if not all the songwriting. He carried the band on his shoulders for years, but I'm getting ahead of myself already. So yeah, for 2005, I did try to find some live performance and stuff like that, but I couldn't find anything, even no music. So my guess would be that they either started late in 2005 or they took the year to write and jam together, which would make sense. Which brings us to March 2006, when the band released their very first demo called Buried Beneath the Blood. Alright, let's talk about this. It really brings me back to the Myspace era. I mean, the raw recording, production, the brutality. I mean, it was self-produced, and for what it's worth, I think it was pretty great. Musically, it was classic deathcore at its best. The slammy, slow parts with the gnarly vocals, cool riffs, sick breakdowns. I've got nothing negative to say. It was a great demo. I also wanted to mention the weird outro they did.
I know that God does exist. Fuck, I know God don't exist.
I mean, in case you didn't notice with the giant inverted cross in their logo, they were pretty upfront about the fact that they were anti-religious. And to be fair, most deathcore bands were like that. And even today, there are a lot of bands talking about religion. I mean, it was the main theme, if you will. So yeah, again, I did try to find some live performance for 2006. I couldn't, but I'm not even sure if they played some shows because just a few months later, they came back with a brand new EP called Crucify, Kill, Rot. This EP, man, I mean, it was pure violence. As much as I love the demo, this was a major step up on every aspect. Music, the technicality, the sound, the production, the vocals, everything was better. They also added some very cool lead ambience, very dark, kind of felt like you were in hell or something, which was clearly the goal here. I mean, the EP was called Crucify, Kill, Rot, so... As I said, the vocals were outstanding. I really miss those classic lows that we don't hear that much anymore. Kind of in between super guttural and death metal classic growls, like just in the middle. They also added a hidden song only on the EP because they would re-release the album later. And it was called Let Loose. It was this weird metal rock mix type of thing. Not really my style, but I think it was just a fun thing they did together. Apparently it was their bassist who did the vocals. Whatever, I just wanted to include it in the video because I thought it was interesting. This time they really got noticed with the release of the EP, and by the end of 2006, they got signed by Siege of Amida Records. Super cool label that I've mentioned many times in my videos, and I think it's also worth mentioning that they had another deal with Candlelight's record. So yeah, as I said before, they did what most bands do when they have a brand new label, so they re-released their EP, but they did it as an album with more songs and a brand new cover art. Sick, right? I mean, this is when the band really started getting more traction, they were getting more popular in the scene. I would even argue that this album is a deathcore classic. It's really good. They also really stepped up their game on Myspace, you know, with the whole art and everything. You could tell they were serious about what they were doing. It was Myspace deathcore in its heyday, you know? And for some reason, I don't know why, but I've always associated Rose Funeral with We Are The End, another super cool band. Okay, so now I'm kind of happy that I found a live performance for 2007, but unfortunately it's only a 20 seconds video of people mushing. As I mentioned earlier, the band was getting more and more popular, so they were playing with bands like The Red Chord, and For the Fallen Dreams. They were on fire. They did their thing for a while, playing shows, getting their name out there, and later in 2008, they released a brand new demo. So good, man. I mean, so freaking brutal. And by the way, I could be wrong, but I think Ryan did the vocals on this one. I'm pretty sure their original vocalist had left at this point. But again, my infos came from old blogs and like YouTube comments, so I could be wrong. Anyway, I don't know if it was the demo or the live performance they were doing at the time, but they got noticed by an even bigger label, Metal Blade Records. It was a big achievement, you know, being on the same label as Whitechapel and Cannibal Corpse. I mean, you can't say no to that. Of course they needed a new vocalist, right? I mean, they had to complete their lineup. So this is when Tim Russell officially joined the band. Super sick vocalist, one of my favorite, great performer. He was a perfect fit for the band. With their new vocalist, their new label, by the end of 2008, they were already announcing their brand new album. And I mean, the hype was real, man. People were excited. Which brings us to January 2009, when the band officially released their famous album called The Resting Sonata. Dear God, I mean, I don't even know where to start. This album is truly a masterpiece. As much as I love their previous material, this one is by far my favorite album. It's the one I've listened to the most, so I could be biased. But as I said before, I'm a big fan of Tim's vocals, and he did an incredible job on this one. Super brutal lows with crazy psycho high-pitched vocals. It was exactly what the band needed. You know how I really often say that every band has their moment or something? Well, for Rose's funeral, it was this. This era was like their prime, their peak. He really blew up. Everybody was talking about it in the scene. They were being recognized as the heaviest underground deathcore band, at least from my perspective. I mean, I think we can all agree on the fact that God Demise is truly a classic deathcore song, even to this day. People are still covering it on YouTube. And while on the topic, they did release an official live performance video for it.
This song is called God
Super cool, but unfortunately, not too long after the release, Tim had to quit the band. And I don't know why exactly. I did try to read online and find some answers, but I couldn't. The only thing I'm sure is that he did quit because a few months later, a live performance in September 2009 was titled Timmy is Back.
What the fuck does they try? We are the enemy! What a motherfucker of ourselves!
Cool, right? So I mean, everything was looking good for them. People were happy to see him back. I mean, he's a freaking beast, even live, especially live. And so for the rest of the year and beginning of 2010, they kept killing it with him. It was also very important for me to mention how talented their drummer dusty is. It's crazy. Which brings us to the infamous Uno incident. You know how much I'm not into drama and stuff like that, but it was such a big deal back then that I had to include it in the video. So apparently it all started back when the band received some threats online, like death threats, and these people came at their show, spitting on them, throwing stuff, and as you probably guessed, the main thing was that they were playing Uno as the band was playing. So they were kind of protesting the show. Pretty ridiculous if you ask me, like, how do you even play Uno at a metal show? So here's the part that's not super clear. There's two sides of the story. People online were accusing the band of assaulting the kids that were playing Uno, while the band themselves explained that apparently it was just Ryan who went to confronting them and talk to them, and it ended up badly, and yes, they got into a fight with those kids, which apparently they were not really kids. They were saying in an interview with Metal Injection that they had this big beard and stuff like that. And talking about Metal Injection, big props to them, because in any drama or whatever, they were always giving a voice to the band, giving an opportunity to share their side of the story, which I think is pretty cool.
So just to summarize, though, you guys have been getting hassled, so you're sensitive to this stuff, right?
Right.
You're at a show, you didn't care that they were playing Uno, but you felt threatened by these guys, so you jacked them.
Right, well, it's just because they sent me a threat. I mean, it's
And
like,
they
if
were
someone,
spitting on us on stage.
yeah,
and
if
throwing
someone
shit.
threatens you,
Okay.
I mean, it's personal, you know.
If you spit on someone's face, that's pretty much like a death threat. You know?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it was more. So at the end of the day, it was more about these guys coming at you first, as
Right.
opposed to you being mad that they played Uno.
Right. And right. I have a short temper. I mean, and I did go at him.
So yeah, as I said, I mean, I was reading the comments. Some people who were there at the show were saying that the whole band just jumped on these kids and started fighting. It's never clear. There are always like multiple sides of the story. I'm not here to take a side by any means. I just wanted to include it in the video. Maybe you were there. Maybe you know what happened. You know? Wow, that's the worst pun I've ever did. Whatever. The only thing I'm gonna say is maybe punching people is never the right thing to do, but at the same time, I really doubt that they just jumped on them because they were playing Uno. I think when you receive death threats and it's really serious and stuff, you react in a emotional way, maybe, for lack of a better word. And I mean, when you send threats to someone, you have to be ready to deal with the consequences. Anyway, I just think it's always easy to judge a situation from an outside perspective months or years later. But when you're in a situation and you're in front of someone and you have like a few seconds to react, it's different. So that was pretty much the story. Let me know what you think in the comment, but for now, we're gonna move on. So now, believe it or not, Tim had to quit the band again. So Ryan did step up on vocals. They went back into the studio, and in September 2011, the band released a brand new album called Gates of Punishment. Very cool album, super well executed. I think it sounded way more mature and almost death metal, even though they had some crazy breakdowns in there. I'm just talking in terms of like songwriting and sounds and ambience and lead, technicality. It's just, for me, of course, I prefer the raw deathcore elements that they had in their previous albums. In terms of vocals, I mean, they were good. Don't get me wrong, I think Ryan did a very good job. It was just not at the same level of Tim vocals. I mean, it's just my opinion, but Tim was extreme on both types of vocals, you know? His highs was so extreme and his lows was like so guttural and low that it's pretty tough to match. And since Ryan was mostly doing lows, on top of having more of a death metal sound, it really changed the whole vibe of the band, at least for me. That being said, it's still a very good album. It's also worth mentioning that they were trying some new things, like in the song Malignant Amour, in which they added some clean opera style of vocals that gave me kind of a Lord of the Ring medieval vibe or something. Interesting, right? So even though I don't think it was matching the level of Resting Sonata, I think it's cool to see that they were trying new things. It's always a big risk, and all things considered, it was pretty awesome. I believe it's very respectable that Ryan stepped up and did the vocals on top of writing the songs and everything. I'm pretty sure he's the reason why the band could keep going through all the years. Then they released an official video for the song Beyond the Entombed. So after releasing their album, their video, they kept touring, killing it live. And that's pretty much it for their Myspace era. After that, I know a lot of stuff happened, a few other lineup changes, but I'm very glad they kept going, and even to this day, they're still killing it. As you saw, Tim is back on vocals, super wholesome, but today we were focusing on the early days, and I think this was pretty much it. As usual, if you enjoyed the video and you want to support me and the channel, the best thing you can do is simply leaving a like and subscribe. It means the world to me. And if you want to support even more, just leave me a little comment. It can be an emoji, story you have. You can also tell me that I'm wrong or that you disagree with what I said. I'm completely fine with that. I love reading your comments, and I really want to say thank you for all your love and support. It's an amazing journey. I'm truly appreciative and grateful for everything. Also, of course, join us on Discord if you didn't already. We have a great community. We're live on Twitch every Wednesdays and Fridays, and we're starting to have some amazing guests. I promise it's worth it. So with all that being said, I'm gonna finally stop talking. I'll see you in the next one.